Alright. It's your boy Gear Grinder, and it's GenCon 2021. While the sessions are still fresh in my head, I want to talk about what went down with my two Magic Assholes in Space events that I ran. I've been posting about the game, talking about it with people. So, long and short, Magic Assholes in Space is a rules light-ish space fantasy RPG that uses cards instead of dice and a make it up as you go storytelling, collaborative world building sort of rule set. Now, normally it's a little easier to get events going for Gen Con. They usually just let you submit an event and they'll tell you if you can run it or not. If you run so many hours of events, you get your badge comped. In this case, because of the COVID restrictions and the reduced capacity and all this other stuff, they were a lot stricter about letting people sign up for events unless they had like a proper gaming group. They want to be able to guarantee, like, if you were going to run events, that you could fill so many hours of programming instead of just being, one guy running one event in one room or whatever. Luckily enough, a group called Feldra Gamers reached out to me after I posted on the forums and gave me the chance to submit a couple events. And so I set myself up with a couple 2-hour sessions to run Magic Assholes in Space for whoever showed up. And a couple days after those events went up, they both filled up immediately, which was both very cool. Like, I was so excited, and also I was terrified because running for 6 people is a lot. As it turns out, that didn't end up being too much of a problem, but I'll get to that in a second. So, the main reason I'm making this little recording is because the way I ran this event is using a Mad Lib story seed, and the two ways it went down were both very different and hilariously so. So the Friday game had 6 slots, and only 3 people showed up. That kind of sucked, but I had my good friend Sugar Pucks with me, acting as my helper slash assistant slash backup GM wingman, which is mechanic in the game. I'll talk about it some other time. But Sugar Pucks was there to help with the event. So we had 4 players, 1 GM, which is, in my opinion, the golden ratio, and games run so much easier. You're able to kind of keep everybody engaged without going too long, without giving any character a spotlight. So the first group that showed up for Friday was a family of 3. They had all bought tickets at the same time, and it was a mother, a father, and a daughter. Luckily, none of them were. The daughter wasn't too young because I have a terrible habit of swearing all the fucking time, and I didn't want to step on any toes by doing that in front of like a 10-year-old. The game is called Magic Assholes in Space, but what can you do? So, anyways, this little story seed Mad Lib for these events is just short little setup. I asked for, like, give me a name, give me a noun, give me a rare material, give me a collectible, and it turns into like so and so has hired you to go and collect these rare collectibles from this convention, but they can't go because it's the day of their daughter's wedding, etc. So this first family, we end up with Joshua the Skunk, the Martian crime lord, has hired them to gather 3 adamantium comics from Infinicon, the galaxy's biggest convention. Unfortunately, he can't make it because it's the day of his daughter's wedding that weekend, and he can't set them up with badges or anything because it's such short notice. And almost immediately, things get a little off the rails, because as a demo, I have them do like an example skill flip that sets how much money they sort of start with. And the player characters we had for this one were 3 of my pre-gens. So we had Funkbot, who is a karaoke machine robot who loves to party. We had Froger, who is an obscenely strong giant frog. And we had Black Hole Betty, an ex-space pirate with gravity control powers. And then Sugar Pucks was playing Ava, the artificial virtual assistant. Essentially like a talking iPhone robot, like BMO-sized. And so I go around the table, and with each of them, I have them do like a skill flip just to get them into it. And I'm asking them, okay, so how's Funkbot been earning his keep? He's like, well, Funkbot was doing this job at a bar mitzvah and he was the DJ, and he starts doing his card flips, and he gets a Joker. Joker's at a twist to whatever you're doing. And so Funkbot got paid, but the brisk kind of went off the rails when Funkbot decided to help. Somehow they just put off the brisk until the poor man's bar mitzvah. And so we go to Froger. Froger, what have you been doing? Oh, well, Froger's been acting as a bodyguard and, doing a little side gig work as a bouncer. It's like, he also flips a Joker. It's like, yeah, Froger may have punched the client in the face, misunderstanding the job. And it turns out that was also at the same bar mitzvah. And then we go to Betty, and Betty also flips a Joker, but she also flips no other successes. It's like, well, Betty's been doing consultancy work. She's got a lot of expertise in a lot of different fields as an ex-space pirate. It's like, yeah, and it turns out Betty was the one who suggested Froger and Funkbot work at this space bar mitzvah. So, needless to say, things weren't going so great for them. So we finally get into the game. We do the Mad Lib. We get Joshua the Skunk sending them to get these adamantium comics. And they figure out, like, well, why do we have to worry about getting badges? Betty's got some criminal connections. She probably knows a guy who can get them badges. And her skill flip comes up a little short. So the guy's like, I can help you on short notice, but you're going to need to get me one of those adamantium comics too. So now their mission's a little even harder. So they get these badges. They print up some fake convention volunteer t-shirts, and they swagger into Infinicon, which takes place on this giant infinity Mobius loop shaped space station. And they just swagger into the convention, and Froger picks everyone up and makes a massive fucking leap across the convention hall and just gets right to the door. Skips the crowd entirely. I think crushes 2 people in the process, but they get straight to the door and they get right in. And then they realize on the inside of the dealer's hall for this thing, because this is Infinicon, it's the biggest convention in the galaxy. It attracts pillions of people, I think was from the Mad Lib. It's so many people. I don't know what a pillion is, but it's a lot. So they get in and they realize, oh shit, this place is so big, we don't know where these comics are. And Froger's like, oh, that's no problem. Use Ava to get the GPS directions of where this booth is, because it's big enough to need GPS directions. And once they figure out where it is, and even though Ava's kind of confusing Froger with overly precise directions, he is just charging straight through, smashing every booth in his way, just total Hulk frog, destroying everything he can possibly walk through, until he sees on the horizon, because this place is so big it has a horizon, the booth for these adamantium comics. And I asked him, like, all right, so what is this a comic of? And they're like, oh, what was that thing from the other games? Like, it's the Apocalyptic Love Muffin comic. I'm like, what is Apocalyptic Love Muffin? Like, oh, well, you see, in this other game we played, there was this My Little Pony / Horsemen of the Apocalypse / X-Men crossover thing that happened, where we befriended one of the horses of the riders of the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. It's like, oh my god. So it's this like brutal My Little Pony character with a zombie face tramp stamp and a sword stabbed in its head for a unicorn horn and all this stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, I'd read that comic. That sounds ridiculous. Okay. Awesome. So they're seeing this pony comic in the distance. But all of the chaos that Froger had caused led to people starting to come in, because they're opening the doors. They're seeing like, oh, what's all this chaos? What's going on here? Oh, he's knocking stuff over. Quick, steal the stuff. And they're causing like this tidal wave riot of people behind them. People following this cannonball of a frog just barreling through everything. And they finally get to the booth, and it's, because this is the rare, extremely limited edition, convention exclusive, collectible that, people always go crazy for. They line up way in advance. And that's why I guess they just skipped the line by sneaking in as volunteers. It's got like fortified laser walls, and it's got its own detachment of consec special ops to protect it. And Betty goes like, oh, hey, I know the guy working there. Hey, how's it going, Henry? Hey, you mind letting us in? We got to get some of those comics. And they run into the problem of like, oh, Froger hasn't stopped. He's still going. He's about to crash into this booth. So Betty gravity crushes him down into the ground face first and grinds him to a stop. They finally get in. Froger's a little worse for wear, but they finally get in this booth. And they start talking to Henry. He's like, oh, hey, wow, crazy. I didn't know you were volunteering. You should have told me. And having a good time, making small talk. And they're like, all right, Henry, you know why we're here. We need 4 of these comics before the crowd gets here. And Henry's like, oh, I don't know. You got the money, right? It's only 1 per customer. And they're like, well, there's 4 of us. And Henry, being a scumbag, is like, I'm not going to sell a comic to your iPhone. And then everyone's like, whoa. It's like, yeah, Henry's a piece of shit. So they all start doing these group skill flips. And they're like, no. We are going to, 1, convince Henry that the iPhone gets to buy a comic. Because Ava is their adorable companion. And 2, that Henry's a piece of shit. So they emotionally batter him down. And then they haggle him down. And they finally make their big expenditure skill flip. And they, I'm like, okay, this is... Between a lot of them, they don't necessarily have enough cards. It shouldn't be too bad. I'm going to set this at like an 8. And they get like 17 successes. So it's like, okay, you get everything you want at a discount. Nobody has to lose any, don't even mark it off your sheet. They get you like the laser-proof glass protective case. So these things are all mint. And by the time they get that all settled, there's essentially like a zombie horde surrounding this booth on all ends. And the other security guards are like shoving at people with the cattle prods to get them from, knocking down the booth. And it's turning into this zombie apocalypse. They're like, well, shit, how do we get out? So Ava points out like, oh, there's an air vent above us, way up in the air. So Betty's just like, oh, this is easy. It just floats everyone up to the vent. And they all start wiggling in, except for Froger, who's huge, and gets stuck in the vent and starts wiggling it so much that it's almost falling off the ceiling. And so they're like, screw it, we can come back for Froger. Just go. We already got the comics, we're getting out of here. And then Froger's like, oh, no, I know how I'm getting through this. I'm going to use my stretchy tongue, hit the other side of the vent, and pull myself over. So Froger does that, gets an assload of successes again, and flies through the vent and smashes the whole party into the other side. And everybody gets beat up a little bit. Ava's screen gets cracked. I think Funkbot gets... Oh, I completely forgot. The entire time, Funkbot is buttering up Henry, giving out beers. And, here, let's grease the wheels here. Everybody loves Funkbot. Let's make this a real party. And so all of the beers that Funkbot was carrying inside his chassis get broken. So now there is beer draining out from the vent and raining down onto the crowd and on this zombie apocalypse. It is a fantastic mental image. So once all that's settled, they climb up to the roof. They call in their spaceship, and it's like, oh, I'll be here in a second. And the crowd below is going insane. Con security's coming up to the roof because now shit's going crazy. And they see their ship coming around, and there's another little ship following it. Little BMW space cruiser kind of fancy ship. And once their ship finally parks on this roof, this other ship touches down, and out steps I wanted to call him the kid, but he went through a bar mitzvah. So this man that they had met at his own bar mitzvah steps out with a bunch of bodyguards, and he's like, I'm here to get revenge for you ruining my bar mitzvah. You made a fool out of me. You live streamed the whole thing. And so they get into a fight with him and his 4 bodyguards. And these guys are like dude bro thugs with laser baseball bats and laser brass knuckles. Because of course. And so they're taking turns trying to wallop on Froger, and he's just taking it like a champ. And Froger sticks his tongue to the side of their ship and starts swinging it around at them. Betty just pulls out her gun and starts blasting, and one of the guys goes to dive to safety and falls off the roof. Funkbot is blasting music, trying to emotionally scar this poor guy by playing the song he played at the bar mitzvah while he fucked up his bris. And it's just pure chaos. And so they get down to the last guy. Everybody else has been just beaten to fucking hell. And the last guy, they're like, all right, I know what we're going to do. hey, whatever your boss is paying you, we can pay you better. Get in here. And I have the guy do his skill flip to be like, well, he's going to try and haggle it. And he fucks up and he says the one thing you never say in a deal, which is, oh shit, I'll do it for free. And so they take this guy and they jump on their ship and they fly away. And they return to Josh the Skunk during his daughter's wedding. And the guards let him in and they see Josh is doing the chicken dance at the wedding reception. They get to this private room where he's like, all right, promise I'd pay you and I'd reimburse you a great deal of money. I'm going to pay you with this. And he turns around like a screen. He's like, this NFT is going to be worth so much money someday. I promise you. It's going to be worth more than any of these comics. And we freeze frame on them all about to fucking kill him. And that was just the first session. There's always that worry that like people aren't going to click with the sense of humor that you're laying down, or they're going to play it too seriously, or not kind of understand what sort of mood to go for. But this family just like got it. The fact that it was mom and dad and daughter all having just an awesome time and making terrible things happen made my night. And yeah, that was the first session. And after that, like it bummed me out that the other players didn't show up, or that didn't have anybody show up with a generic ticket or whatever and be like, hey, can I play too? Because I still had extra characters. We could have done 3 more people on top of that, but rolling with 3 turned out to be just perfect. And I think part of it is because we were with Feldra, their events were all way in the back of the hotel because they were doing LARP events. Big thanks to Feldra for even giving me the chance to run the events. I'm going to pause this recording here and then do a second one for the second recording because things went in a slightly different direction and it's fantastic. So, just a moment. Okay, so session 2, Saturday. We get down there a little bit early. There's nobody using the room that we're in, so we get set up nice and early. We get settled in. I actually do a little bit of prep work by getting some notes jotted down, get all the character sheets out. And 6 o'clock rolls around, and there's some people walking by the hall, and we're like, ooh, is this them? Are they going to walk in? Are these maybe they're going to show up with generic tickets. And nothing for a few more minutes. About 6:10, a couple guys roll in, and they're like, Magic Assholes in Space? And like, yeah, Magic Assholes in Space. Come on, come sit down. And they're like, oh, well, our buddy's here also. He's just here he kind of wants to watch. He wants to see what this is about. He doesn't have a ticket. And we're like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Have a seat, whatever. And we give it a few more minutes. We're giving them the whole the rundown and how to play and how the mechanics work. And give them the little quick ref sheet and everything. They look through the different characters, and a few more minutes roll by, and it's like, nobody's showed up. Just have your friends sit down. Just come join us. And yet again, we get to run perfect 4-person session. Sugar Puck's playing Ava. One dude playing Funkbot, because everybody loves Funkbot. Another dude playing Black Hole Betty. Bam Bam. And then last person decided to play Capitha Cappy Cheris, who is an upright capybara with a cute little hat who's so charming she could instantly make anyone her friend. The way I envision this character being played is that even though she has 0 combat ability, she could like verbally break someone down and deal so much emotional damage that they'd be out of the fight. Like she has no fighting ability, but her social abilities are so high that she can get away with damn near anything. So we got Cappy, we got Betty, we got Funkbot. And kudos to this guy who instantly understood Funkbot. Funkbot, for the record, was an NPC that appeared in the playtest campaign that ran for like a year and a half. He was a beloved character that kind of went like, Funkbot, oons. And this guy did like the exact voice. He understood Funkbot on a spiritual level. I will always love that. So we get him through everything. We do the little test flip. Go through everybody doing their wealth checks, and it's kind of some middling. Like it wasn't quite as explosive as the first time around, where some players were entering into this with like almost maxed out wealth to where they almost wouldn't need money. Let's see. So I ask Cappy's player, like, okay, how are you earning your keep? And it's like, oh, Cappy is like Neelix. It's like the morale officer. She's just kind of making sure everybody's happy and making sure everything on the ships runs. It's like, okay, awesome. They do all right. We do Betty's flip, and she bombs and gets a Joker. It's like, well, Betty, you might be deeply in debt, and it's a good thing because you got a job lined up. We'll come back around to Betty. Now, what's Funkbot doing? Well, Funkbot's been trying to remodel the ship and upgrade it to be like a mobile soundstage / like music touring bus, and we're gonna do this whole thing where we're gonna like go around space and do tours and shows and get musicians. I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll work that in. And so then we do the Mad Lib, and oof, out of the fucking gate, it's like, all right, give me a name. The guy thinks for a second. He's like, Donald Trump. I'm like, ooh. He's like, yeah, we're going there. I'm like, okay, yeah, we can. It's like Donnie T. Yep. So I'm like, all right, next I need a noun. Immediately he gives me Monica Lewinsky. I'm like, it needs to be a person, like an improper noun. And it turns into Donnie the assistant, I guess. And it's like, all right, well, I need a rare material. He's like, Sugar Pucks gives me opalite. It's like, okay, yeah, it's not rare, but we've been seeing so many fancy fucking dice in the show floor made of like opalite and other crystals, and it's just on our mind. It's cool. And I bounce back to the next guy. It's like, all right, give me like a collectible, like any sort of thing, like rare thing. He's like, ball gag. And everybody at the table has that moment, just like, oh no. Like they were kind of, I think they were testing the waters, like, oh, have we crossed the line? Is this too much? And sure enough, it's like, nope, we're going to make this work. Donald Trump needs 3 opalite ball gags on the day of his daughter's wedding, and he's going to pay handsomely, I guess. And it's just like, no, we've got enough jokes just to tell there with Donald Trump needing ball gags and also somehow being immortal and in the space future and whatever. We're running with it. This is the life we live now. So then I lay it on them that, like, okay, you've got this job now. This convention's tomorrow, but you've got no badges, and you need to get in there somewhere to get these extremely limited edition, very rare convention exclusive opalite ball gags. They're like, okay, I think I know what we're gonna do. And Funkbot's players are like, so how far along with the ship upgrades would you say I was? I'm like, I'll give it to you that you got kind of a party bus thing going now. He's like, we don't need to buy badges. We'll just invite people into our ship, steal their badges, and then dump them on a nearby moon. So sure enough, they get Funkbot pumping the music. They get Cappy down on the landing bay, inviting people like, it's a free music bus tour, party bus, and they get like a few dozen people in there, and they're fucking pumping, and they get to they got Betty flying around the ship, and like they're doing like a zero gravity rave in the cargo bay of their ship, and Betty's just flying around in there, just plucking shit off people, stealing wallets, kind of lining her own pockets. And then they get to this nearby moon. It's like, all right, Funkbot, you've got to convince everybody to get out of here. It's like, all right, I know what I'm gonna do. And he starts singing Enya, like in that soft, like, who can save me? And I'm like, oh wow, this is like a big dude with a beard too, so it's even better. Wearing a sleeveless vest. So this dude's singing Enya to us. So now they've got Enya pumping, and they're like, all right, just off the bus for 10 minutes, grab some food, and then we'll go back again. And everybody gets off the spaceship, and they lift the fucking bay door, and they fly away. And they jokered on that skill flip. So they got everybody like trying to report, like get the license plate number and call the cops and stuff. And Betty's player's like, obviously this is Betty's spaceship, and there's no way she's got a real license plate on it, so we just hit the button that flips to a different license plate. So they get into the convention center. They've got badges now, so they get their way in. They kind of have the similar problem. I pitch them the same situation. This place is massive, and it's gonna take them forever to locate this stand, even with Ava guiding them, and they got to get there fast because people are gonna start piling up. and they're gonna run out. So what they do is they use Ava, and she fall. I think she jokered on that flip. So she gets them to the red light district of this dealer's hall, this colossal fucking building, and because she kind of botched her directions, she gets them to the wrong stall selling the wrong kind of ball gags. And so they end up being there just a little late, and the line's already curling around the booth, and there's people already packed up. So Funkbot decides to do the most obvious thing, which is to start faking a fire siren and telling people, like, there is a space fire, the non-sexy kind of space fire. Space fire will make your nipples turn inside out. And trying to get people all frenzied and panicked and to get them to run away. But one of Funkbot's flaws is can't stop, won't stop, which means that Funkbot doesn't do things that aren't partying quite as well. So he's got a bunch of extra jokers in the mix now, which means he's turning this into both like a wicked on-the-spot rave, and also people are panicking. So you've got crowds showing up being like, ooh, what's this live music show? And this other crowd that is now crashing into the oncoming crowd as everybody's panicking and trying to run away, and it's total chaos. So Cappy and Ava team up, and they're just running through the crowd, just snatching bags off the people who are coming out of this fucking booth that's selling opalite ball gags. And they do really well. They actually end up snagging 4 of these bags instead of just the 3 that they needed, as well as a few wallets. And so now it's like time for them to get the fuck out of there. Except con security is starting to show up. And this rave is getting really chaotic. And people are getting like Black Friday trampled. And so they're like, well, why don't we just like force push our way out? So Black Hole Betty, using her gravity powers, just fucking opens up a giant fucking gravity well kind of like tunnel in the middle of the aisle and just flings everyone into the air. It creates this perfectly clear path for Cappy and Ava. And the entire time, oh god, I forgot. The entire time, Cappy's player is laying on the charm, telling people like, oh, excuse me. Oh, my dom needs me to get these. I'm such a good girl. I'm like, oh my god. Like, he carried this fucking bit for the rest of the session. And I'm not going to keep repeating it, but just imagine this tiny, adorable capybara with a little personality hat going, ooh, my daddy's going to be so pleased with me. I'm losing my mind because I'm gasping for breath and trying to talk at the same time, so I'm getting lightheaded and losing focus. Kind of glad I didn't pass out. But, so they've got this path opened up, and Consec is coming now, and Cappy decided to turn the tables on Consec, who are pulling guns out on Funkbot, who is blasting, like, fuck the police music to get people riled up against them, and convincing them that the fucking... Oh, God, I'm all out of sorts. So much shit happened just in this one moment. So Funkbot is essentially, like, starting a fucking uprising, and, like, booths are on fire, people are getting impaled and trampled, and stuff's getting knocked down, and the fucking... everybody's panicked about this space fire. When he sees that the consec is showing up, the convention security, he's trying to get the crowd turned against them with, like, fuck the police, heavy gangsta rap, and dubstep, live remixes with Enya in there. And to help him out, Funkbot was under the impression for a second, it's like, oh, this is my last stand. He's like, I've always loved you, Ava. And they hold hands as they're teaming up, and Ava is now flooding space Twitter with information that convention security is about to commit a hate crime against robots. And the hashtag's now trending, and Cappy's calling the police saying, oh, these men who are saying they're security officers are pointing guns at people and they're gonna kill people. And she flips so fucking well that they're sending people over right away, and they've got live video feeds streamed of, like, this robot uprising, and, like, it's madness. And so Cappy and Betty fucking run away, and Funkbot's now confronted by like convention security about to blow his robot brains out, and he hacks the lights, and he's doing like the light show where the lights are like dimming and pumping with the music, and he does like that dubstep build up where they're about to drop the bass and the lights go black, and him and Ava just sneak out and roll away, and everybody's left waiting silent, waiting for the music to kick back in. And so as they're running away, we go back to Cappy and Betty, and now the cops are driving their SWAT van through the convention hall, this dealer's hall, trying to get to this place where there's like an anti-robot hate crime about to happen. And what they end up doing is they're like, well, this is the infamous ex-space pirate Black Betty. Like, she's a known criminal, ex-criminal. So what Betty's player does is, all right, well, can I just pop off my eye patch and I'm gonna pop in one of those ball gags? It's like, sure, let's do that. And so Betty throws the cops off her trail as they like take a moment to like look her way by using an opalite ball gag as a glass eye. So they're like, oh no, that's not Black Hole Betty. Black Hole Betty has an eye patch. And they keep driving. It's like, cool. So the game's kind of starting to wind down. And they get a little bit further. They all regroup. They get a little further out of the hall. They start noticing that some people are kind of giving them the eye. Kind of moving suspiciously. And then they do the whole like gun in the coat pressed against your back trick. And they're like, just this group of like half a dozen nerds, giving them like this shifty like, just keep walking. We're gonna go somewhere private, and you're gonna give us the goods, and nobody has to get hurt, because these are very rare, convention exclusive, limited edition opalite ball gags. Obviously, they're worth something. So Betty says, "Fuck this. Somebody's threatening Black Hole Betty. I pull out All Reliable, Black Hole Betty's laser pistol, and I point it between their eyes." And Betty does the skill flip to intimidate, and Joker's it's like, I think that just means you accidentally blow their brains out. And I described it as jack-o'-lanterning this person's skull, because the big thing with Black Hole Betty's laser pistols, that's very bright and flashy. It's something that you don't use discreetly. So they freak out. And they pull out, of all things, because it's a convention, Yowie paddles. And this is a stupid idea, but I went with it. So they pull out Yowie paddles, and everybody around them goes fucking nuts. You would think seeing somebody laser blasted in the face and stone cold killed would do that. But no, it's the Yowie paddles, because anybody who knows those things knows they're fucking bad news. They've shattered hips. So these nerds are now threatening our intrepid heroes with Yowie paddles. And Cappy, apparently in having been influenced by the red light district, says, "I don't consent!" And pleads and begs and turns on all of their fucking magic, because Cappy has mood-altering chill magic that makes it so easy to befriend anyone and alters people's moods, and hits this one nerd so hard with chill magic that they instantly switch sides and they're like, no, this is wrong. We can't be Yowie paddling this innocent creature. And it turns into a fucking battle where Betty's blasting at people. They're taking swings at Funkbot, who's just not having it. And it escalates. And then Funkbot's like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the brown note. And fucking starts flipping cards and just makes... Because it's a robot, an AI assistant... God, I'm trying to remember. I feel like I forgot something. I feel like Betty decked someone so hard that Ava just walked in and stun gunned him, and he just fell over. Oh, jeez. Well, I guess I forgot about that part. Ava technically got pinned underneath the fat nerd. But anyways, they brown note these guys so hard that they all instantly go into cowboy walk stance. And everybody goes, oh no. And they're like, well, with that, Betty's an alien, Cappy's a capybara, Funkbot's a robot, Ava's a robot. they're not affected by this human stuff, and they just leave. And they go back on their spaceship just in time to see the cops rushing in to like dogpile to much to their dissatisfaction, dogpile these people who just shit themselves, and pin them down for having illegal yaoi paddles, these dangerous lethal weapons. So they fucking leave. They get back to the wedding reception for Donald Trump's daughter, Donnie the assistant, and they show up with these bags full of sex toys, and they're like, hey, we got one more idea. They fly back to the moon after kitting out the ship with extra party supplies, and they pick up all the people they ditched. And the session wraps up with them going to Donald Trump, handing off these extremely rare, limited edition, convention exclusive opalite ball gags. And he's over the moon. It's tremendous. He is bigly satisfied. And Trump voice. And they get paid in, billions of space bucks. And as their final their denouement, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, as the finale, they click the button and they send in all the partiers from their spaceship into the wedding as they climb in and get out. And somebody goes up to the DJ at the wedding and says, "Oh, the legendary DJ Funkbot told us you should play this." He hands them it's like Dookie Fest 87. And they leave to the cacophonous sounds of the brown note destroying this wedding reception. And there's a bunch of shit I forgot in there, but that was our second session, and it's still leaving me out of breath, just trying not to laugh as I'm talking. And it would have been nice to see some of the other characters played, but those guys were fantastic, and they're exactly no offense meant by this. They're exactly the sort of people I expect to show up to a game called Magic Assholes in Space. And they played perfectly, and I was deeply honored to have the three of them there. And I'm deeply thankful to Sugarpucks for being my assistant for the campaign, keeping me on track, pitching in with rules reference and everything. And it was a blast, and I can't wait to do it again next GenCon. So yeah, that's what happened. I didn't think this would be as long as it was. It was like 45 minutes of me talking. But yeah, that was a thing, and I hope you found this as entertaining as I did.